to the stage. Add to the stage. Add to the stage. Oh, we are here and we are live. Listen, we, oh, bless your heart, Eric. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you as well, Sharon. So I'm gonna just go ahead and just jump into the intro and then pass it off over to you, Eric. All right?
Did you add me to the program, or am I still backstage?
You're on stage. You can't see you on stage?
I can't see Sharon either. Oh yeah, I can see Sharon. There we go. All right.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in and kick this off with the intro. Welcome to Insightful Reflections, where you have me. I am Leroya Said, and you have the beautiful Sharon. You also have the handsome Coach Eric Sean. And Eric, we're going to go ahead and pass it over to you. And you can kick off your topic that you want to discuss today. What we got?
Yeah, you know what? I've had some revelations over the past week or so, and it just seems like the world is completely different. Like all of a sudden, I woke up and I'm like an alien, like that. It's just brand new. I'll give you an example, and I mean it's brand new from politics to the way that people conduct themselves with each other, the way we communicate, uh, the the patience, the tolerances, the fear, the anger. It's just all at a completely different level than the way it used to be. I'll give an example. I was driving down my street and I was stopped at the stop sign. And normally if you want to make a right, you're in the right lane. If you're going down a residential street and you want to make a right or a left, you're generally to the right of the street. So the left side can have the oncoming traffic that turns onto the street. So there's a whole line of us. And I look at my mirror and somebody's coming up on the left where the traffic turning in is supposed to be, like they're supposed to be there. They just pull up alongside of all of us waiting and turn into the street like it was supposed to happen. I go into the store and somebody who works for the store, I'm going out the door and there's like 3 people who work for the store that come running in the exit sign like I was in their way. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the world is going on? It just seems like that just our level of respect and compassion and understanding is at just a completely different level. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or just that the world is just at a different temperature.
I don't think it's because you're getting older. I do think that the world is at a different temperature, and I think you hit it on the nail when you said it in a previous podcast when you spoke on that we have dehumanized each other. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't. You know how I always say, like, I really don't care what people think of me, et cetera, right? That's how I feel, right? Genuinely. However, there's not a bone in my body that seeks, desires, or even want to hurt someone else, want to put someone down, want to bully someone, or anything of that nature. That's just not who I am. And when I look at people today, I look and I say, people are out for self, similar to, my views, don't really care what anybody is thinking, but they have that extra additive there where it's like, but I do seek to hurt you. I do seek to destroy you, for whatever their reasoning is behind that. And I think that alone, it makes everything look so chaotic on the outside. Like when I step outside of my front door, it's like I'm in that old movie, The Twilight Zone. That's exactly what I think.
That's exactly how I've been feeling all week. Like that, like I'm going to go to sleep and wake up and it's going to be back to normal. But I don't think it's going to be back to normal.
No, I think the world has been flipped upside down. I think we're at a stage to where, yeah, you have a lot of people awakening, a lot of people coming into consciousness. I also believe that, we have it to where everything that was once considered right is now considered wrong. The things that were once considered wrong are now considered right. And mass delusion. People are going with it like it's normal. And it's like one of us here is off. And I'm banking on it's you and not me.
I think people have always been inconsiderate and rude. Um, I think we're seeing it now at a different level because we're aware of the state that we're in. We're aware of what's going on now. So to see it and recognize it makes it more in your face. It's more in our face now because we are aware of it. But people have always been rude and inconsiderate. This system that we're under, I seen it, a couple of years back when people were getting in with the cops and all the things that they were doing behind. But I just think that is on a bigger scale because we're on these platforms now and you can really see things for what they are, and it's at a more rapid pace. I think it's easy because people get behind keyboards and people are not who they pose to be, behind these platforms. And once you get into a habit of believing something about yourself or engaging, it makes it easier for you to go in the street and, act a certain type of way and, be a person that you're really not. But I think people have always been rude and inconsiderate, and we're just seeing it at a more rapid pace now because of these platforms. It's unfortunate because this society that we're in right now, we're leaving it to our next generation, of kids, and they don't have the patience. But I admire them because they're changing. They're changing. Um, they're changing. That this norm that we're used to. They're not settling and they're not accepting. What was once told, what was once normal, what was once the standard. I think the reality is that you have a lot of different people walking around living in different realities, and that's just what it is. A lot of people here are living in different realities. They're living in their own realities. You and I may see something one way, or know something to be another way. But then you have other people that's locked into these different realities. As far as politics and all of that go, Eric, for me, it's been uncovered. You know, I don't, I don't left, right. They're all flying, the same plane. As far as I'm concerned, it's just an illusion, that they're giving us. And I think once you recognize that it's just an illusion and you're aware of it, you're more conscious of it, you're like, damn, is this what's been going on all along? But I think it's always been here.
So you think it's
You know,
always been here, and it's like somebody gave the red light or the green light to just go ahead.
Yes, I think it's always been here. People being rude, inconsiderate. You walk, listen, from the time I've been driving, you drive around the corner, you see a parking spot, 3 feet ahead, but instead the person will double park and, they're having a conversation and you have somewhere to be and you're waiting like, the traffic is backing up. They don't care. They're still having their conversation. I just think the climate the climate right now, because of the tension and because of the mass awakening with everyone, the climate is more dangerous because now you can't honk your horn or move out the way, because now you got the aggression. People will literally, before you can honk your horn, and they would probably stick their finger out the window, give you a bird, or, they're giving you a nasty look. But now you better watch what area you're in and when you're doing it, because they'll jump out the car and you can lose your life over beeping your horn for someone to move out the way. And this is the society that our children are left with right now. I think it's just a lot of tension. It's a whole lot of tension, but I think it's always been there. It's always been there. We're
I
just
think I do think that it's always been there. I was one of those people that would see you about to go do something, and I would definitely double park um, without a problem. It would dare you to say something. However, I do think that people are angry. I do think that people are frustrated um, because, like the title, maneuvering through this new world. Right? You know how, I don't know if you guys remember, like some years ago, like years ago, like probably like maybe like 10 plus years ago, right? They were talking about like this new world order. You guys remember that? That was going to be that was being planned and ushered in, right? And I was talking to a friend today, and I said, "There's no new world order that's coming. We've already been in it, right? Because it was like walking out your door and now you're in the twilight zone. Now you're looking and you like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on here or whatever, right? Because we're in that. And people are frustrated because like the title, Eric, like how do you maneuver in this? You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I just mind my business. Whatever folks got going on over there, y'all can have that over there. But I'm gonna stay over here and just mind my business because I don't want to put my life in danger because of someone else's frustration or whatever have you. But I completely understand it because how do you move about? How do you move about as a decent person when the majority of people around you are vultures? Like, how do you move about in that situation? How do you not succumb to becoming the very thing that you're surrounded by? That fight in itself to remain who you are, that fight in itself to remain authentic to you and stay focused on what you're doing, that becomes a whole nother beast when you're surrounded around everyone else who now the masses accept as their normal. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that that's why I came up with the topic, is because like how do you operate in this new culture with the temperature being raised and still stay authentic to yourself? I'll give an example. I'm generally the calmest, most patient person. I'm very calm and I'm very patient and I'm very tolerant. I'm in the grocery store the other day and I'm checking out and I get behind this lady and I notice that she's got this like a Christian commercial. Her phone is on speakerphone. She's got a Christian commercial that just is on repeat and on repeat and on repeat. And that's the first thing I noticed. And I said, something ain't right here, right? So I'm behind her and I go to grab one of the dividers where you put up to separate your orders. And I guess my cart moved up closer to her. Man, she went off. She just went off like I don't think she heard anything the commercial was saying, even though it was on repeat, because she had the devil all through her, right? She just went off. And I said, I think that was the beginning of this thing. Like the world is just different. But my point is that it aggravated me. Like I felt my temperature rising and I felt myself about to go off on this lady. And I was able to catch myself, but it was hard. And so the thing that I realized, and I agree that it's always been here. There's always been an undertone, right? But we always recognize that to some degree, that we didn't fully buy into our own story. And the other thing, and the reason I bring up story is one of the things the lady, while she was called herself cussing me out, was, and it was a black lady, right? So she turns around and she says to me, "You're uneducated," or she says something with "you're uneducated." Uh, you you make no money, and went through this whole thing. And that's what stopped me, is because I recognized that she was dead in her story of whatever she was dealing with. So and I thought to myself, what black man hurt her? Because she didn't know me. You know what I mean? She was living out her story. There was always something that, even though we lived our story, we realized that it wasn't the only story. And it seems like now people think that it's the only story. And like the world is here just for them.
I'm gonna challenge you a little bit on that because
Mhm.
you know where I'm coming from. It's always about me. Always about me, right? Technically, it is their story. Technically, the world does revolve around them, their world. Like, I think we have this misconception that because there's billions of people on the world, in the world, that like we're all supposed to be kumbaya. Like, everybody has their own story running, and you can be a part of a spinoff to someone else's story, your life. You know what I'm saying? Without even ever having participated in their story. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be a remake to someone else's story that's been lived years and years and years ago. But ultimately, any way you shape it or frame it, it is their story. It is about them. And I think that is just such a I think that it becomes complex when we start to think of everyone as a whole. Yeah, we are whole conscious wise, energy wise, but we're also broken off into little pieces. And each little piece has its own story. Each little piece has its own experiences. When you try to start meshing all of those things up together, you have the world fighting to try to tell you to be like everybody else. When all you crave to do with every fiber of your being is to be like yourself, whatever that may be. You feel what I'm saying? Like, am I making sense here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I catch what you're saying. Like if I look back to my 20s, in my 20s, my story was the only story that mattered, and the world did revolve around me, and everybody needed to cater to me, and I was invincible, and I could do everything by myself. But at some point in time in my life, and I would have to say it was when I became the elevated version of me, realized and accepted that this is a collective story, right? Like we all need each other. We're all part of the same consciousness. And so i I don't look at it as just I have my story that I live, but my story's evolved to the point that it's about more about other people than it is about me, if that makes sense.
Why does it have to be about everybody else? Why does it have to be? You just said everybody has a story, whatever. You got older and you realize, everything is not about you. It's about other people. We know you said, excuse me, I almost lost my point. You said we need each other. Why?
Because we're all one. There
Where
is
do you
we're,
think your gifts come from, Laboria?
Huh?
He's right. He's right. Where do you think your gifts come from? You don't really think they're going to drop out of the sky, do you? Where do you think you get your experiences from? How do you think you see a reflection of yourself? It's
Oh no,
through.
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't agree. I want
Okay.
to know why. That was a bold statement, and I hear that often from people, and it kind of goes along with the whole everybody wanting everything to be kumbaya, right? But for me, being an individual that is a part of the collective and knowing my role as being a part of the collective, I not only realize the importance of me, me, Because without me, if my eyes are closed shut, that's it. Lights out. I'm up in the upper room. Don't none of y'all exist except in consciousness. But for the sake of this experience we're having here on earth, there's so much emphasis put on, especially in the conscious community. We need each other because X, Y, and Z. I just want to know Eric's reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I mean, to sum it up, I think the thing that would makes the most sense is that I can't exist without everybody else. There's no way for me to exist. I can't grow. I can't see different versions of myself. I can't discover who I am. Um, and I'm not saying that everything has to be kumbaya, and I'm not saying that I become less important than anybody else. I'm just saying for the experience of life, and in my mind, the experience of life is for me to discover the best version of myself and to continually discover who I am. I can't do that without the consideration and the understanding, me understanding other people, if that makes sense. Does that
No,
make sense?
no, not to me. No, I'm going to challenge you. Not to me, because again, you made another statement. You said, you can't grow without other people, right? Now, I think you can learn a
How?
great deal, a
How?
great deal. How you learn from other
Yeah.
people?
How can you learn and even see yourself without other people?
It wasn't through other people that I was able to see myself. It was when I was sat still. It was when I went within. I was able to see me, the raw, authentic me, that version of me that has always been sitting there existing, that was cluttered with unfulfilling expectations of what everybody and their mama felt I should and shouldn't be doing. It wasn't through the people. It wasn't through engaging with people and seeing and saying, "Hey, I see you're like this, so now that helps me to define me." My defining came through quietness, through stillness, through getting to know me by myself. That lonely part of the journey that lasts for quite some time, that's where I got to know me and who I am and build my strength to being able to stand tall in a room full of vultures. I don't care how none of y'all moving. This is how I roll. You understand what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to other people and the experience and seeing myself in other people, I get lessons, blessings, growth, but not the definition of who I am.
But
Absolutely not.
but how did you even know that there was another version of you without other people? How did you know that you needed to grow? How did you know that something was wrong?
I didn't. I didn't. I didn't know. I've spent the first 2 quarters of my life thinking nothing was wrong. I didn't know any better. All I knew was what I knew. I didn't choose to go sit down. I was forced to sit down. You understand? I was forced to sit down. And then that forcing to sit down, I wasn't fighting, kicking, and screaming. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired as hell. I'm tired as hell. Listen, what, God? Okay, now that I'm listening, what? Wasn't through other people. People came after the fact. After the fact of that stillness, that quietness, that going in, that looking and saying, oh, dang, Roya, that's ugly, man. We got to fix that. We got to fix that. It came after that.
So you think your spirit is separate from the universal spirit?
No, absolutely not.
So if your spirit is connected to the universal spirit is filled with everybody else.
Absolutely, because we are one. I get that. But what I'm saying to you is it wasn't through interaction, exchanges via people that I was able to define and grow for me. That came from stillness. That came from quietness. That came from the God within. That was God energy. That was source energy. That wasn't the energy of people. Hey, you need to change this and you need to change that. You need to fix this and you need to fix that. I done heard that most of my life, and I ain't give a damn to do any of it.
Can you give me an example of one thing that you figured out that you had to change?
The way that I viewed selfishness, my level of selfishness, my integrity.
Selfishness can only be based on how you relate yourself to other people.
It was related to how I related myself to other people.
So that's what I'm saying. So everything that led up to that moment could only be defined based on your interactions with other people.
No, what I'm saying is people played a role via lessons. People weren't the defining factor in me discovering me. That came through stillness. In order for me to reach back and look at those experiences that I've experienced and being able to say, oh, Roya, that's selfishness. That's ugly. You got to fix that. I had to define who I am. I had to look at me, accept me, good, bad, ugly, and indifferent, first and foremost, to being able to acknowledge that that's an issue for me. Not because everybody said, but because it was for me. I didn't like it because I knew my level. You get what I'm saying? Or
no, I know what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but I know exactly what you're saying.
What?
What I'm saying is when you got to the point of defining who you were, everything that you defined was defined based off of lessons and interactions and viewing yourself in contrast of other people. I'm not saying at that moment somebody said you had to change, or that defining moment that you spent with yourself was the you that was present was based off of everything that happened up to that moment involving your contrast with other people.
It was one person. It was only my mother.
Well, I mean, all your lessons and everything that defines you, you defined yourself based off of contrast of other people, if that makes sense.
I get the contrast, but it wasn't based off of the contrast. It was based off of like when I looked at my integrity, right? I'm gonna get off the selfish. When I looked at my integrity, right, I said, wow, I really, really don't like that. Because I ain't have none. Very little. You know what I mean? Like any and everything I did was for a selfish gain. I was very aware of that. You know what I'm saying? You hung with me, you was gonna do who, what, when, where, why, how I said. You rode in my car. I pull up to the store and I open the door. Get out because this is what I need for you to get for me. There was no integrity, which lack of respect, all kind of other things fall under there. I did not like that. Not because I looked at the next person and said, in contrast, ooh, their integrity is up here, mine's is down here. I didn't even concern or bother myself with that. Because the truth is, if I was looking at it from a contrast standpoint, I was doing quite well in comparison, even with the very little that I had. It had to come from within. Otherwise, it would not have come at all. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
There was no contrast with that. It was me looking at me saying, nah, I don't like that. I know I'm better than that. How I knew, I don't know. The God within me, I did not know. I just knew what I seen with my life, what I had created in my life. I just knew that I wasn't okay with it. I knew that there was more for me, better than what I was than I had set up for myself.
I got you. I understand what you're saying.
You still don't agree.
I think in a roundabout way, we saying kind of the same thing. I just don't think you realizing that you're confirming everything that I'm saying.
Well, maybe I'm in the twilight zone with you right now because I'm hearing that who I am today is based off of the is based off of my experiences with those that I've encountered thus far. That's what I'm hearing from you.
That's
And
part of
yeah, this is where you're losing me. Lessons, yes, but growth, definition, absolutely not. I didn't have a person like me around me. I didn't have nobody whispering in my ear talking about, oh, you can do this and you're better than this, you better than that. That fools was down with me. They were doing the same thing I was doing. Everybody around me. Everybody. That's just the way that it was. That birds of a feather flock together, that's what it was. So I had no choice but to go somewhere else. Think out of the box, if you will. I'm not saying that that's not what you're saying is not an experience that a lot of people may go through. I'm just saying that there's no one size fit all. And I know for me personally, there was no one size fit all. When I was forced to sit down, I was forced to go within. And that's the best thing that ever happened to me.
can good exist without bad?
No,
No.
no.
So there can't be a measurement of integrity unless there's something to compare it to. There can't be a measurement of selfishness unless there's something to compare it to. And all those comparisons you get over your experiences and the lessons that you learn from other people. That's what I mean by the contrast. I'm not saying that you weren't responsible for your own growth. I'm not saying that you weren't responsible for looking inside, because you had to do all that internal work yourself by yourself. But what I am saying though is that all of these things that you defined as acceptable or non-acceptable could only exist because of the contrast of something else. And all of our lessons came from, and experiences come from, interactions with other people. So
So
there's no way to measure integrity, your own personal integrity, unless there's something to compare it to. If you exist on an island by yourself, how do you decide? You can't. There's no measurement for any of these things, nor are they important.
So the definition of the word integrity, the definition of the word selfish, the definition of the word love, that's not enough to compare it to. I can't compare yesterday to who I am today, because it has to come from another person. My integrity, I know what integrity means, right? But it's a commonplace word. The average person knows what integrity means and the lack thereof. It didn't take a genius to tell me that I was lacking. It didn't take this person or this person to have or not have integrity for me to say that I'm lacking. I knew what I was. I seen it. I know what the definition means. I had very little, if any, at all.
So I get what
How
Eric
you
is saying.
super now on this, Eric?
So what Eric is saying is, how could you know that you were treating someone without integrity, or that you didn't have the integrity that you thought that you should carry, if it wasn't based upon how you treated someone into contrast of you? Um, who's to say that, your level of love, if you had no one to share love with, if you had no one to have the experience of that emotion, that transfer of emotion, how do you compare it to just you? Because if I compared myself on the scale, I could say, listen, I am the most, loved person, or the most giving person. But how do I know that I'm the most giving person if it wasn't people around for me to share and give to? I could look at this person and say they're a selfish person because they never share anything, or because of the attitude that they hold about themselves, or the way they treat other people, is the only way that I could say that this person is a selfish individual. But I can't say this person is a selfish individual if it's nothing to compare it to. Is what he said, is what you're saying, correct, Eric?
Yeah, and that's why I say there's no good without bad. One can love cannot exist without a comparison or an experience to judge that on.
I feel like I'm in the matrix with y'all right now because you keep saying that. You keep saying there's nothing to compare it to, like there wasn't older versions of myself. There wasn't yesterday's version. There wasn't the day before's versions, the year before's version, and so forth and so forth and so forth.
Yeah,
That
you could have had those versions, but who was it with? Who was it with?
What do you mean? Who was it with? Those versions were me, with me, and those versions existed just as those versions were very much in existence as Eric was, you was, or another person that I've engaged with in life. What I'm saying is my lessons in defining and self-definition came from those versions of me that I was able to look at and see for what it was. That's what I'm saying. Y'all are insistent upon telling me that it came from my interactions with other people, because how can I know love, and how can I know my integrity is lacking, or I'm selfish, or whatever? I'm a human being. No, excuse me. I am a spiritual being. I am consciousness. I am energy. I am innate. I don't need nothing or anybody to tell me that something is wrong. I feel
The only
it.
way, the only way, now, let me give it to you this way for me, right? The only way I can know what it is I want for myself in my experience is to have experienced something with someone else or another being that I didn't want. So knowing that I didn't enjoy that experience allowed me to grow and know I've been down this road before. I've had this lesson before. I've experienced this already. And I know this is what I don't want. So my growth could only come from experiencing things that I did not want in my life, so that I can focus more on the things that I do want, if that makes any sense. How we maneuver, how we maneuver through this society is by dealing with other individuals. And for me, I can see a type a mile away. I can, I'm sorry, the phone was ringing. I can see a type a mile away. And it's just that same person in another body, because I've had that experience so many times. I know that I don't want that in my life, but I wouldn't have been allowed to grow into what I do want if I didn't have the experience with individuals that I didn't want. So I measure my growth. I get to measure my growth from the lesson and the experience. The lesson comes, but you only get the lesson by having an experience. Because I know you like to go in, Leroy, but you only are going to get a lesson. You just can't meet a person and say, look, Eric is a lesson. You know, I have to have an experience with Eric to be able to get a lesson from him. So I can measure my growth through that, right? You can't measure your growth. You can't measure your integrity. You can't measure your love. Like, I could love someone that didn't love me correctly. I could have been a giving person. I could have been a honest person, a faithful person, and going through this experience thinking that this is love. From my perspective, all I know is that the emotion and the feeling and the experience that they gave me or wasn't a good experience for me. So now I understand what I don't want. And I understand what not to. Now, it doesn't change the fact that I'm still going to love. It doesn't change the fact that I can still be a loyal person. It doesn't change the fact that I can still give to this person. But now I know what kind of person that I want to deal with and what I'm looking for out of that experience. And the only way I get a reflection of who I am is when I experience this with another individual. If that makes any sense. I can't just look at someone and I can't look at their book and say, "Oh, I've read that book before," without opening the book and start going through the pages. Now, this book looks just like the other book they're too similar. I'm not interested in this book. But unless I actually begin to open it up and read the pages, I don't know what to expect. So you can't measure you can't measure something from nothing to measure.
But that's just the thing. Y'all keep saying from nothing. It's not from nothing. And I'm going, y'all know I'm transparent. You're gonna get all this work in 5D, right? It sounds like y'all not the star of your own movie because everything sounds like it's based off of outside forces, other individuals. Your experiences, you guys' experiences with people are the experiences that they're giving you. I don't live from that lens. I've never lived from that lens, even in my janky day. This has always been my movie. I'm just, I went from the Tubi type movie to, now I'm on Netflix, right? We working our way up to the big screen, right? But like, it's always been my movie. I've always been the starring role. It's not you giving me an experience. This is my experience that you get to be a part of. So it's
and
always been about me. So that growth then in turns comes from me and the experience that I've allowed myself to have and allow you to play a part in.
I
so
understand that. So, but in that experience, I'm sorry, Eric, but in that experience,
Heavenly
somebody
Father.
had to be somebody had to be a part of that movie. Like, this is my movie. This is Sharon movie. But if I don't have the other co-stars around me, it's certain parts of that movie that I'm just not going to get to because I don't have the experience in there. It's my movie, right? But I need my co-stars. I need my production crew. I need my camera crew at
It's
some
still the
point.
experience. It's still your experience that they're playing a part of, not the opposite way. They're not giving you an experience. You're giving yourself an experience. You are, not the other way around. You can
You
learn
said that.
things from
You
people.
said that. I'm giving myself an experience with you, right? I'm giving
Yes,
myself an experience with you right now. We're
yes.
having the experience. We're having the experience right now. How would you take any information, learn, grow, or know anything about Leroya from Sharon if you don't have this experience with me? How do you grow from that?
You asking me?
Yes.
You never had a conversation with yourself? Because I talk to you. Ain't no way you can grow talking to you. I'm just saying. Um, no, I, I get what you're saying, but it's still my experience. It's not, it's still not you giving me something. because I have to be open and willing to first off be able to hear the information, that whatever it may be that you're saying. I have to be willing to digest that. I have to be willing to process that. I have to internally allow some things to happen, consciously allow some things to happen in order for me to grow. How do I turn around and then say, oh, that experience that Sharon gave me? No, that experience that I allowed myself to have.
I, I see what you're saying.
It sounds nicer to think that we are, that we're these loving beings, and we do so many things selflessly, and we learn so much from each other or whatever. But if by the logic that you guys are standing on, the world wouldn't be the way it is today. Eric would have never experienced what he experienced today with that lady in the store. Eric got the patience of a saint. Like, we know that, right? But like, those things wouldn't happen. However, they do, because the logic is, I'm giving you this experience. How many times, Sharon, Eric, you too, you're a coach. How many times you get to talking to somebody, giving them advice, putting them onto game or whatever have you, and they still don't get it. They still in the same rut. They still in the same place. Call you years later, they still in the same literal same place, sometimes even worse. Because it's not you giving them an experience, it's them having an experience. You're just a part of it, which is why they have full control over whether or not they digest the information that's being given to them.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. Here's the way. Whenever I'm in a coaching call, at the end of the coaching call, the person thanks me, but I thank them. And the reason that I thank them is because I cannot be a coach without them to be a client, right? I can't have my experience without them being a part of it. Now, if I look over my life and I look at my character and I look at the development that I've done today, the person I've grown into, the self-searching, the self-knowledge, and just the evolution, right? The evolution of Eric Shawn. It began when I was a child, right? And all the foster homes and the experience that I went through, the situations that I was in, I created a perception of them. That perception created certain feelings in me. I began to create my realities based off of those feelings, whether they were pleasurable or whether they were non-pleasurable, based off of my perception of that circumstance. So when I was in my 20s and I was creating havoc, that version of me would not have existed if not based on my perception, because we're all born pure, right? I mean, we got to believe that we're all born pure, we're all born loving, and we're all born in a position to learn. So there's no selfishness when we're born, right? We're so all of that develops as a protective measurement based off of our perception of what happens. So Eric Shawn today could not exist in the evolved state without me having a perception of the circumstances that created certain feelings that allowed me to shape and mold a certain reality, and eventually get to the point where I said, I don't feel the way that I think that I should feel, right? And I decided that I wanted to go inside and do some internal work. And one of the reasons I wanted to do the internal work is because my spirit was calling me to do it. But in this human experience, I wouldn't know that there was anything else to feel or any better way to feel unless part of me saw it in other people. And because I saw it in other people, it resonated with my spirit. And I knew that I too deserved that. Right? So we're spirits born into a human experience. And in this human experience, one of the things that is needed is contrast from other humans.
Says who? So you mean to tell me your spirit was strong enough, powerful enough, godly enough to let you know that you wanted better, you wanted more, right? But it weren't powerful enough to give you that feeling of what that is for you?
I couldn't have human words for it based just off of my spirit because it's not human. The wording and the knowledge and all that had to come from the human side, which came from. Let me ask you this: do you think that the lower versions of Leroya had anything to do with your perception of circumstances that involved other people, places, and things?
Say that again.
Do you believe that the lower version of Leroya, the lower versions that you've now evolved from, had anything to do, like that person was developed based off of your perception of circumstances that involve people, places, and things?
I think, and Sharon, we've had this, and I'm so glad we talk the way that we do, because Eric probably gonna think I'm lying. When I was a little kid, I was a little girl in public school, I used to get this overwhelming feeling that I know, I understand now, it to be energy moving through my body. But I used to be in school, and I mean, as far back as I can remember, this was always happening to me. And I can feel like heat coming from the bottom of my feet, just scrolling. Remember that conversation we was having, Sharon? Just scrolling all the way up to my body. And let me tell you what it would do to me. I was fit to be violent as hell. Wasn't nobody showing me that. Wasn't nobody teaching me that. That's not what I was learning at home. Who I am today, which is why I say one person, my mom, was my why. She was my why. That was the contrast. The version that she's always seen me as. That's what I contrasted myself to once I got still and defined and seeing things for what it was. So no, my lower self and how I dealt with people back then, again, Sharon, I'm so glad we talked. How many times did I say on the phone to you? Sometimes when I think about who I was, how I processed information, I'm like, yo, like low key, that was like borderline psychotic. Have we not had this conversation, Sharon?
Several times.
No. And I'm not trying to say that like I'm this special person or whatever. All I'm saying is that the possibility exists that there's no one size fit all in the way that we come about to where we are. And even in maneuvering in this world. There was no one size fit all for your situation where you was in the grocery store, because I'm going to tell you right now, that just wouldn't have happened if I was in the grocery store. No, ma'am. No, we're not about to do that. You're going to calm down. Then you over here calling me names and making all kind of insinuations. No, ma'am. I'm going to need you to put that projection back in its rightful place with you, because I reject that. That's not what's happening over here. That's not what that were. So there's no one size fit all. As you guys were talking, and I'm observant, so I'm listening. And as you guys were talking, you use statements as such. You can't do X, Y, and Z. This can't happen without blah, blah, blah. And this is why I say y'all making me feel like I'm in the Matrix with y'all, in the Twilight Zone with y'all right now, because I know better when it comes to the both of y'all. Because the reality is that everything exists, regardless of what our personal experiences or circumstances was. Eric, I see you over there trying to hold strong, man, trying to hold on to your view.
Listen,
no.
Eric, I disagree with her. I disagree.
Come on, Sharon.
I'm thinking to myself that one of the things that I like about when we get together is that we don't have to agree, and there is no right or wrong, right? And anybody who's watching can extract whatever they need to extract from it, and it's not like we all get on here and see the exact same thing. It's this is real, right? So I'm not saying that because I don't believe there's a right or wrong. I'm not saying that I'm 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 right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that the way that I feel about it, this is how it is. And you're saying that the way you feel about it, this is how it is. And the one thing that I do know is 5 years from now, both of us, because we're in a position to evolve, five
Right.
years from now, both of us are going to see the versions a little bit differently. And that's the beauty of growth. And so when we go back to how do we maneuver through this new world, the reality is we continue to focus on ourselves and we allow ourselves to evolve. And everything that happens from day to day, hopefully we'll be open to see what the experience is. Because what I do know is the lady in the grocery store, because I am God, which means that I create my own reality. There was a reason that I attracted her into my day. And I had to sit back and I had to ask myself, what lesson was I supposed to learn from this lady? Right? So that's the way we maneuver. The way we maneuver through it is that we take responsibility for our own shit. We take responsibility for the way that we perceive things because there is no one reality. There isn't. It's really about how we perceive things. And we can only perceive things based off of our knowledge of self. And hopefully, as that continues to grow, we will adjust to this new world accordingly. Does that make sense?
It does, and I would have definitely felt the test in the grocery store. It's not even a test. I wouldn't have failed. I'm just telling it just wouldn't have worked out the way it worked out for you. But you a man. That would have looked real crazy for you. By societal standards, you would have been all right in my book. But by societal standards, I can dig it. I just know for me that wouldn't have, no ma'am. We're not doing that. We are not doing that today. And I probably don't want to be there because I don't like grocery shopping anyway. So I'm already walking up in there, man. I gotta be there, low key. We ain't doing that, man. You're gonna aggravate me on top of everything else. All right. So, but Sharon, you saying that you disagree
I do.
with
I
me?
do. I am going to experience other souls because I am not here alone, and that was um, designed to be that way so that I can experience myself through other individuals. That's my take on it. I get to experience myself through other individuals, and I'm allowed to grow from that. I'm allowed to ask myself when I make certain decisions, did I do the right thing? How did I feel about that? And I don't think everything is supposed to be kumbaya because sometimes people are supposed to get it. People are supposed to get it, and it's teaching you strengths in yourself. Sometimes um, we need our ego, you know, as much as we need to learn to control our ego. It's my ego that allows me to fight through things when people tell me that I can't. It's my ego that allowed me to fight through things when people tell me that I'm not enough. It's my ego that allows me to say, listen, you got this. So I feel as though I need my ego just as much as I need to be in control of it. I am accountable for me. I am accountable for the experiences that I have. How I maneuver through this new world is to be honest about who I am, to be honest about what I can do and what I can't do, to be honest about what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not willing to accept. How I maneuver through this world is to treat people the way that I desire to be treated and stand up for myself when I know that I'm not getting the treatment that I want or deserve. Um, I'm very cautious about who I allow in my personal space right now because I understand that energy vampires are real. I've had the experience just like Eric had. You can be having a wonderful day and you're vibing and you're happy, and someone can give you that telephone call and you're, guess what happened today, and they dropped it. Well, I'm going through this and I need a couple thousand. By the time you get off of that phone call with them, that day that you were having was completely snatched away, and now whatever burden that they had, they done dropped it on you. So I'm learning to pace myself. I'm learning to um continually, grow. And I'm also I'm learning to always have foreplay with myself. Always.
I love it.
Always that foreplay with myself, to make love to myself, to get myself riled up for the things that I want for myself. So for me, the experience definitely, is give and take. It's a two-sided coin. You can't have the up without the down. You can't have the end, what's going on inside without what's coming on from outside. You have to have the left and the right. You have to have it all. It's all the experience. It's all of it. And I'm here for it. Because nobody going to do Sharon like Sharon do Sharon. I can only have the experience, with LaRoya. I can have the experience with Eric. I can have the experience with my children, with my husband. But ultimately, it's the experience that I'm having. They don't feel what I feel. They don't see what I see. They don't get to know what I'm getting from that experience. It's just that they're showing me what I need so that I can grow. You're going to get from me, is this what you said to me? You're going to get from me what you need at that moment, whether it's good or bad. But whatever you're getting from me at that moment is what you need to get from me. See,
Absolutely.
I
I
got that
stand
from you
with
last week. You're going to get
that.
what you need to get from me. And it's still my movie, but I
Yep.
have to give part of it to somebody else.
And I
So,
still stand on that. And
yeah.
because I'm glad you said that because you said something really interesting, and I've heard people say this before, and I really don't agree with it. I'm going to treat people the way that I want to be treated. I don't treat, and this is just me personally. I don't treat Eric the way that I want to be treated. I don't treat you the way that I want to be treated. I treat you based off the way that you treat you, showing me how you obviously want to be treated.
Oh, I like that. I can get down with that. I can get
Yeah.
down with that. Yeah. I like that, and that's a true fact. Treat LaRoya like if I know LaRoya is not into makeup, I'm not going to say LaRoya, come on, let's go have a makeup day. You know what I mean? I know LaRoya into concerts. LaRoya, let's go to a concert. You know what I mean? Because I know you like hip hop, but I can get with that. But it's still there's no but because when you say but, you dismiss everything else. You know, for me, that's a form of treating you how I would want to be treated because when I get to know you, I can pay attention to the details. I know what it is that LaRoya likes. And that's part of me having the experience with you, getting to know you and seeing versions of you, of myself through you. If that makes any sense. That's where I'm
Yeah,
at
I
with
mean,
it.
I think it's easier to see that reflection that we all talk about in that's that reflection. How Eric is me, I'm Eric. I'm Sharon. Sharon is me. How we're all one. It's easier to see yourself in people like you guys because the that old saying is real, birds of a feather flock together. It's easier for me to see me in you guys than it is for me to see myself in someone who's the opposite, anti consciousness, awareness. It's harder, not impossible, because I'm still there. It's just harder to recognize because you got to dig real deep down within to see, oh, you're not liking the way this person move, but you know what? This person is you. So come on, let's go and figure out what it is, what it is, what it is. And sometimes that's, we not running to figure that out. But when you got, birds of a feather flock together, I see myself in Erica, you, I'm like, ooh, yep, it's easy to digest and you know what I'm saying? And spit out and like and it feels good. It's an automatic feel good. It's not a negative feeling. Whereas, with the opposite, it gets a little rough. So I would say in maneuvering, how do you maneuver through this new world? I say you don't. Just exist. Just exist. Just exist. Because whether the world The world today is not going to be what the world tomorrow is not going to be what it is today. The world today is not what it was yesterday. You can fool yourself into believing who, what, when, where, why just exist. And mind your business. Leave people alone. That's what I got. That's how you maneuver in this new world. You mind your business and you leave people alone. And lastly, for the sake of wasting everybody's time, including your own, don't give people pieces of who you are. Do like Leroy do. Get them this work in 5D. Shara, you all close us out. You don't get all
Yes.
this work. What you see is what you get.
Listen, thank you so much for joining our podcast, our table talk. Thank you for the topic this week, Eric, and our insightful reflections. We see, each other, and we are a reflection of one another. LaRoya, I'm looking forward to our topic next week. We'll put it in our page, and I'll see you guys next week. I'm on my way out with, you guys already know that I'm out of town and I'm about to meet up with my family. So I'll see you guys next week. And as always, it's been real.
You guys have a good week. I love the both of you.
Love you guys.
Love you much.